Hello, and welcome to a new episode of On Hidden History, the channel that explores what the textbook ignores. I'm Andria Redlin, your host, an author, graphic arts student, history lover, and I love digging deep into history, in case you didn't know. The weirder the better, and if you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. So in today's episode, come with me as we travel back in time to June 19th, 1910. So what's so special about this date? Well, aside from it being the birthday of Garfield the cat, though he was born in 78, this happens to be the day of the very first American Father's Day celebration. Yeah! Now, the United States has over 70 million fathers, and the day we celebrate them was off to kind of a shaky start at its origin, unlike Mother's Day, which was welcomed with open arms and very little opposition in 1908. Mostly because retailers saw a way to make a quick buck from a bunch of sentimental saps. Father's Day, on the other hand, met with some pretty heavy opposition, particularly from a florist who was once quoted as saying, "Fathers just haven't the same sentimental appeal that mothers have." In other words, when compared to Mother's Day, Father's Day just doesn't get as much attention. Whether it's because a lot of guys just don't like to have a big fuss made over them, or the fact that statistically a staggering amount of fathers don't live with their kids or participate in their lives, or are just completely absent, which I guess is the same as not participating in their lives. So I think we can all agree that the world has dads and dad-nots. But for those who remain a part of their kids' lives, the positive impact reaches far further than you realize. So how did we come to celebrate the present dad in our lives with, well, presents? Well, that's what you have me for, to answer all these questions your teachers never did. Let's go. The origins of Father's Day date back to July 5th, 1908, when a church in West Virginia held a special sermon to honor the Fairmount Coal Company explosion's victims. That sounds like a story for another video, but today, you're just gonna get the 1-minute summary. I'm sorry. On December 6, 1907, the Monongah mines in West Virginia were shaken as a violent explosion tore through 2 mines. This is regarded as one of the worst mining disasters in history, and it is believed to have been caused by a disregard for safety measures by the mining company. No surprise there. In the end, over 360 workers, many of them fathers, died in this tragedy. One of these fathers had a little girl named Grace Clayton, and it was she who suggested the idea of a church service honoring all the dead fathers who had been lost in the explosion. It was the first to honor fathers. The real tragedy, however, is that these workers made up just 11% of the 3,200 miners killed in 1907. Apparently, worker safety was not a priority back in the day. Just ask the people in the Triangle Shirtwaist Company fire from like 1912. Oh, but I digress. Now let's hop back into our time machine and fast forward 2 years to 1909. It was in this year that a woman named Sonora Smart Dodd, that's a name to reckon with, began campaigning to raise support for the establishment of a holiday celebrating fathers. Now her father, William Jackson Smart, had been a Civil War veteran, on both sides no less, but that's another story. Anyways, this guy had been widowed 2 times, and he had had to raise 14 children on his own. Sonora was proud of her father's self-sacrifice in having to fulfill the role of 2 parents, especially since some of those children weren't even biologically his. After drawing inspiration from a Mother's Day sermon, she set out to honor fathers everywhere by making sure they too had a day of recognition. June 10th, 1910. Fueled by Miss Dodd's early efforts of promoting a special day for fathers, the first Father's Day was held on this date in Washington State. June 5th had been Sonora's father's birthday, which was why June had been chosen. In its early years, much of the American public was against the idea of this new holiday, fearing that it would become over-commercialized. And perhaps they were right. Unsurprisingly, businesses such as florists, gift shops, and all other kinds of gift retailers They backed the idea, for obvious reasons. Money, money, money. As years passed, the celebration of fathers slowly crept across the United States. A few U.S. presidents even took part in spreading the word. In 1916, President Woodrow Wilson unfurled a flag in Spokane, Iowa from Washington, D.C. Now, it should be noted that since he did this by pushing a button from a long distance away, that was pretty high-tech for the time and rather impressive. In 1924, President Calvin Coolidge showed his support, and in 1926, the very first National Father's Day Committee met for the first time in New York. 1956 saw the joint resolution of Congress recognize observance of the day, but it wasn't until 1966 that President Lyndon B. Johnson made it a national holiday. And in 1972, it was officially signed into law by President Richard Nixon, designating the third Sunday in June as Father's Day. Over the years, Father's Day's popularity grew, and though it still doesn't quite spark the same flurry of retail fury that accompanies Mother's Day, most of us can agree that it's still meaningful for a lot of people. Though it took nearly 60 years, Sonora Smart Dodd lived to see the success of her mission, which is pretty cool. She was about 90 years old when this occurred, and she passed away at the age of 96. And if you thought the West was the only region on the globe to have this holiday, no. Think again. Many countries other than the US celebrate their own version of Father's Day, and celebrations in Europe predate our American ones by a couple hundred years. Some countries use the same date as us, June 19th, while others choose other dates of significance. Now in Germany, for example, and this is interesting, it's held on Ascension Day, which is the day that, according to tradition, Jesus ascended to heaven after the resurrection. Now, the German fathers celebrate this day by going off to the woods, loaded up with food and alcohol. Sign me up! That sounds like fun. If you're watching this video in America, you already know how we celebrate. But did you know about this tradition? There's an old Father's Day custom I found, which was kind of interesting, which is the wearing of roses. If you wear a red rose, it means your father's alive. But if you wear white, he was deceased. On a lighter note, here's a dad joke for you. Where do duck farts come from? Any guesses? From the butt quack. And that's why they don't want you to feed gluten-free bread to the ducks at the park. More gluten for the tootin'. Okay, before I go and let you enjoy the rest of your day, and before I lose my nerve, I just gotta ask this question regarding men. Okay, we all know that women go to the OBGYN for female-only medical problems, but who do guys go to? Is this like some big secret in the realm of men's health that women just don't know about? And if there is a man-only doctor for your man parts, do you guys have any, like, funny nicknames for him, such as, the pecker checker? I'm just asking, okay. If you do know, please enlighten me by commenting. Okay, I'll behave now. Maybe I should just lay off the caffeine. Well, my unhidden ones, that's all I've got for you today in this episode. I hope you enjoyed spending these moments with me, and I do hope you'll check out the other videos on my holidays playlist. I do have a St. Patrick's Day one, which is pretty cool. So, until next time, stay unhidden.